So let's talk about an even more complicated routing scenario. I want to take full advantage of the fact that I have two buses on the Liaison and full advantage of the fact that I'm using analog summing. So what I want to be able to do is use one bus to process my drum stem and use the other bus to process my stereo mix. So here's how I'm doing this in my setup. I've got output 3-4 from the Apollo plugged into the input of bus A on the Liaison, and then the output of bus A plugged into input 3-4 on my 2 bus, and that's how I'm going to process my drum stem. Then for the stereo mix, I've got the stereo output of the 2 bus plugged into the input of bus B, and then the output of bus B plugged into the input of my Apollo to record my full mix back into my DAW. Now effectively what I'm doing is making bus A my drum stem processing bus, and bus B my stereo mix processing bus. So anything I insert on A will affect my drums, anything I insert on bus B will affect my whole mix. Now keep in mind that you don't have to only use a drum bus here. You can do vocal stems or guitar stems, whatever you want. Anything that you route to that output on your interface is going to go to that bus. So you don't have to repatch anything. You can leave that plugged in and just route it in your DAW anytime you want to send anything to that bus processing. So now, if I play my track and solo my drum bus, you can hear that when I engage 1 and 2, my Moog filter and my purple compressor, it processes my drum stem. And I'll just show you, if I clear that, you can hear it unprocessed and processed. So now, I've processed my drum stem. If I want to process my stereo mix, I can insert something on bus B. So I want to insert these Great River Harrison EQs because these are really cool for stereo bus. So if I insert number 3 on bus B, and if I unsolo my drum bus, you can now hear that the Great River EQs are processing my stereo mix. And just to give you an A-B, here's without them, and here's with them. Like you do, like you do. So now keep in mind with this scenario, you can do the same kind of A-Bing and preset saving that we did in the last scenario. If I want to compare what this sounds like to, let's say, what it sounds like with the purple before the Moog, I can engage that flip button. You get the idea. The bottom line is we're getting the best of both worlds because we get to use one bus of the Liaison for processing a stem and the other bus for processing the stereo mix. So we get to do 2 different things with our analog gear without having to repatch anything. So I think by now you're starting to see that the routing possibilities with the Liaison are pretty much endless. You're not just limited to the ones we talked about here. Anything you can come up with, the Liaison will do it. If you do happen to come up with any cool or creative ways of routing your audio in the Liaison, feel free to mention it in the comments down below or send us an email. We always love hearing about that stuff. But most importantly, go make some music.